Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to be talking about graphing circles and then also just circles more generally as well. So if we have a circle that has the center HK, so some point HK where H is the x value and K is the y value, and it has a radius r, then the equation of the circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So just a quick refresher on what circles are. We have some circle that looks like this. Okay, so the center of this circle is going to be given by the point HK. All right, so we know that the circumference of the circle is the distance around the outside of the circle. Okay, that's not going to come up overly often here, but we do have that the diameter of the circle, is what goes across the circle. So we could say it's the distance from two opposing points on the circle. Okay, so if you draw a line through the center of the circle and connect opposing points, then that is your diameter. Okay, and we often just call that d. But the radius is halfway across the circle. This is our radius, and we often just call that r. Okay, that is the distance that is from the center of the circle to any point on the circle. Okay, so that's just a quick refresher on what we need to know for everything moving forward. So let's say we're given x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 1. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to identify the center of the circle. Okay, so the center of the circle is given by, so remember, center is given by HK. So if we go back to our formula here, we have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so it is already in the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. So here, the circle is going to be, the center of the circle is going to be given by 2, 2. Okay, so here h is equal to 2 and y is also equal to 2. So we can go ahead and plot that point. So we'll go to the right 2 and we'll go up 2. And we'll have the center of our circle. Now the radius of the circle, if we say that this element here is r squared, if we want to find the radius, all we have to do is take the square root of that, right? So we have r squared is equal to 1. So we can take the square root of both sides, and we get that r is equal to 1. So that means that this circle is going to have a radius of 1. So what's really nice is if you know the radius, you can draw the whole circle now. So all you have to do is draw a distance of 1 away from that point. And then now all we have to do is we have to draw a circle roughly connecting. Yeah, let's see if we can do that here. If we can align it properly. There you go. So that would be our circle here. Okay, so it has a radius of 1. So now if we go from the center to any point on the circle, it is a radius of 1. So our circle is going to look a little bit like that. Okay, how about this one? Here we have x squared plus y squared equals 9. Okay, so this one might not be as immediately obvious, but there's one little trick that we have here. If we want to find the center, we can actually take x squared plus y squared, and we can rewrite that as x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. Okay, so therefore we can say that our center is given by HK, or in this case, it's 0, 0. So we don't have to do anything special here. We just have our center right here at the origin. Okay, so again, this is r squared here. 9 is r squared. So if we say r squared equals 9, then if we take the square root of both sides, that's going to give us that r is equal to the square root of 9, or 3. So that means our radius here is 3. So we can just draw a straight line, 3 units, so we can go right, left, up, or down here. So let's go into the right 3. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. So that is our radius here. And now we get to draw a circle with radius 3. Oh, wasn't a good enough circle, I guess. So it's a circle of radius 3. So it should look about like that. So this is our circle centered at 0, 0 with radius 3. So this is, if we have the equation x squared plus y squared equals 9, that's what the circle will look like. Okay, let's do one more. Here we have x plus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 4. Okay, so we need it to be in the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 4. And this isn't really too bad. We can just rewrite this, right? So we have x, change colors here. We have x plus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared. We can rewrite this as x minus negative 1 squared plus y minus negative 2 squared. Because remember, if we have minus a negative number, it's the same thing as adding that number. So we can then say that our center is going to be given by negative 1, negative 2. All right, so we'll go to the left one and we'll go down 2. So that will be the center of our circle. And we also have that r squared is equal to 4. So if we take the square root of each side, we're going to get that r is equal to 2. So we can just draw a straight line up, down, left, or right. So we'll go up for this one. Okay, and then we can draw our circle with radius 2. So there we go. So that is what this circle would look like. Okay, how about this one? Now we're not going to graph, but we're going to try to find the equation of the circle. We're going to go the other direction given information. So here we have, we're trying to find an equation of a circle that has the center 5, negative 1. It passes through the point 2, negative 2, 5. Okay, so we can start with a couple of different, we can go a couple of different directions here. We can start in a couple of different places. I find it's usually easiest to start with, in a case like this, maybe start with h and k, right? So here we have h is equal to 5, and k is equal to negative 1. So therefore, we know that the equation of the circle is going to be given by x minus 5 squared plus y minus negative 1 squared equals r squared. Okay? And we don't know what r is. But what we do know is we know the definition of the radius, and we also have some point on the circle. So the definition of the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circle. So all we have to do is find the distance between 5, negative 1 and negative 2, 5. And let's scroll up to a previous example we had, or a previous lecture we had here. We have the distance formula, d, is equal to x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And we're taking the square root of all of that, okay? So let's just write that down here just as a reminder to ourselves. So we have d is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. We're taking the square root of all of that, okay? So if we say that maybe the center is point 1 and our point on the circle is point 2, and that's going to mean that x1 is equal to 5 and y1 is equal to negative 1, and x2 is equal to negative 2, and y2 is equal to 5. So let's see if we can find the distance, or in this case, it'll be the radius. So we'll have d is equal to r, and that's going to be equal to the square root of x2 minus x1. So we'll have negative 2 minus 5 squared plus y2 minus y1, so 5 minus negative 1 squared. Okay, so that's going to give us, okay, so we have negative 2 minus 5. That's going to be negative 7 squared plus 5 minus negative 1. That's 5 plus 1, so plus 6 squared. Or we have the square root of 49 plus 36. okay? And that's going to give us the square root of 85. And I think that's probably about as good as you're going to get here. I can't think of any way that you would simplify this one, I don't think. So I think 85 is about as good as you're going to get. So that means that r is given by the square root of 85. And I will say this too, if you're given just r as some square root, usually it's a good idea to not simplify anyways. And I'll show you why here in a second, okay? So we have that since r is equal to the square root of 85, we can rewrite the whole equation as x minus 5 squared plus y minus negative 1 squared, or we could just change this to y plus 1 squared. And this is equal to r squared, or since we know r is the square root of 85, we can write this as the square root of 85 squared. But the square, if you square the square root of a number, it just undoes the square root. So this is going to give us, as our final equation, x minus 5 squared plus y plus 1 squared is equal to 85. So this is the equation for our circle that has a center of 5, negative 1, and which passes through the point negative 2, 5. Okay, well, how about this one? Here we have, we want to find an equation of a circle that has the center at 2, 5, and passes through the point negative 1, 1. Okay, so once again, if we have center 2, 5, that means that the equation of our circle is going to be of the form x minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared, and this is equal to r squared. We need to figure out what r is, but remember, all we have to do is use the distance formula again. So we'll have our distance is equal to our radius, and this is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1. So we'll have negative 1 minus 2 squared plus 1 minus 5 squared. We're taking the square root of that whole thing. So we'll have the square root of negative 1 minus 2, so that would be negative 3 squared plus negative 4 squared. Or we get the square root of 9 plus 16. Or we have the square root of 25. Okay, but again, we don't want to necessarily simplify that just yet because we're going to have to undo it anyways. But this one really wouldn't be too bad either way. So here we have, then our final equation is going to be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals the square root of 25 squared, or we have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 25. Okay, so now we have just one more type of problem to look at here. We want to find an equation of a circle whose diameter has endpoints 3, negative 4, and 5, 6. So if you remember, our diameter is, if we have a circle, it is the, oh my gosh, this is not one to work for me here. Okay, whatever. So so we have a circle that looks about like this. Okay, and the diameter is, if we have the center here, the diameter is any line that goes through the center of our circle and connects to two opposing points. Okay, so that is the distance across the circle as it passes through the center. I guess is kind of how you could think of that. Okay, so what's really cool here is that the center is always going to be the midpoint of the diameter. Okay, so if you want to find the midpoint of these two opposing points, you'll get the center, and we're going to need the center if we want to find the equation for our circle here. Okay, so remember the midpoint. Okay, if we go back up here, we can find our equation here. Okay, the midpoint of a line segment connecting a point A and a point B, where A is x1, y1, and B is x2, y2, is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So you can think of it as taking the average of each of the 2 points. Okay, So we have the midpoint is going to be given by x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, so the midpoint, so the center of our circle is going to be given by the midpoint between these two points here. Okay, so we'll say that this is point 1 and this is point 2. So our center is going to be given by 3 plus 5 divided by 2. And then we'll have negative 4 plus 6 divided by 2. Okay, well, 3 plus 5 is 8. So we'll have 8 divided by 2. Negative 4 plus 6 is 2. And we have 2 divided by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. So we'll have the point 4. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 4, 1 is going to be our center. Okay? So since our center is 4, 1, we know that our general form is going to be x minus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to r squared. And now we have to figure out what r is. Okay, so we have a couple of routes we can go here. We can find the distance between these 2 points, these 2 endpoints, and then we can divide it by 2 because the radius is always half of the diameter. Or we can just find the distance from 4, 1 to either of these 2 points. So I guess I would like to go the second route here, where we find the distance from the center to either of these 2 points. So we'll have the distance is equal to our radius. So we'll have the square root of, so we'll have x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And we'll say that this is point 1. And I guess we'll use this one as point 2 as well, okay? So 5, 6 we'll use as point 2. So we'll have x2 minus x1 squared. So we'll have 5 minus 4 squared plus 6 minus 1 squared. And that's going to give us the square root of 1 squared plus 5 squared, which is going to give us the square root of 1 plus 25, or the square root of 26. Okay, remember, let's not try and simplify this. I don't know that you can, but this is not something we probably want to do anyways, because we're going to have to undo that. So that means our overall equation is going to be given by x minus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared, and that'll be equal to the square root of 26 squared, or we have x minus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 26.